Hi, welcome back to a new episode of Sugarfolk Homemade, my podcast where I talk about all the things that I've been crafting. If you're new here, my name is Michaela, and I'm coming to you from a small town in western North Carolina where I live with my husband and our 3 kids. And if you are returning, welcome back. Glad to have you. I have quite a few finished objects to share today, which is not the norm. I feel like I'm kind of a slow knitter. The actual process of knitting, I feel like I'm pretty quick, but finding the time to knit with kids is just always hard. And we homeschool, so yeah. But it seems that I've wrapped up a lot of projects all at once, and I'm able to finally get into some fall knitting, so I'm really excited. I wanted to film this like a week and a half ago, but then Hurricane Helene came through, and I'm going to talk about that for just a minute. So if you're just here for the knitting, you can skip ahead to this time. But yeah, I wanted to give a little update on our personal situation with the hurricane. The hurricane did pass through our town, and we did have really bad flooding. We live right across from a river, and we have had floods in the past, but I've never seen the river this full. It was starting to come up onto our main road. Like, you pull out of our driveway and you could see the river. So that was a little frightening, but that was its height. The worst we got in our town was we did have one fatality, which was just devastating. And there were a few families that lost pretty much everything. But us personally, we were safe. We lost power. The whole town lost power. No, not the whole town, but like the majority of people lost power. There was no Wi-Fi at all, and no cell signal. So thankfully, I was able to text my parents that morning to let them know that we made it through with the storm. We were safe. And then all signal through the whole town was gone. You could not call anybody. You couldn't even call 911. And that was an eerie time to not be able to communicate with anyone. And so because all communication was lost, we did not know how the rest of our region fared through the hurricane. We kind of just assumed maybe everybody got about as bad as we did. But unfortunately, and I can just like still remember the exact way I felt. We were at my sister-in-law's house, and we were able to connect to people who had Starlink, still had Wi-Fi, and the fire department near her house was just in range that if I stood at her bedroom window, I could connect to their Wi-Fi. It was very spotty, so I was able to connect a couple days after the storm and log onto Facebook and just see the absolute devastation that hit our entire region. Absolutely mind-blowing, and it literally made me depressed for up until now. I'm starting to feel better, but that's nothing compared to what other people are dealing with. But it's been really hard to just return to normal when not even, 45 minutes away, people's lives are changed forever. Many fatalities, a lot of people are still missing. It's been a wild week and a half. I think it's been a week and a half. Yeah, around that time. And I don't watch the news, but from what I've seen, the news has barely reported on it, and what they have is like nothing even close to how bad it really is. There are some towns that are just completely wiped off the map. Like, they're gone. There is absolutely nothing. It is just crazy. I'm not going to go into it too much because I could talk forever. But if you are a praying person, if you've been here for a while, you'll know that I am a Christian. But our region covets your prayers. And it has been really cool to see how our community has rose up to the challenge. And it is mainly churches and local people maybe not even people that aren't local. People from all over are like flying their private helicopters in to do rescues and drop off donations. People are coming together like I've never seen before, and it is amazing. And honestly, I feel like that's what's holding this region together right now. So yeah, we are safe. I had a few people reach out to me from YouTube, you know, because I obviously don't share exactly where I live, but I always say Western North Carolina. And so a lot of people heard that we were hit really bad. And fortunately, our town, although we did experience one loss and some material loss, the majority of our town is okay. But still be praying for all of our surrounding counties because this was historical flooding. It's like a once in a 1,000 years chance of it happening. That's why I'm sorry. I'm just like going on and going on. But I would see people, you know, say like, well, why weren't they prepared? They knew it was coming, but this has literally never happened before, and because it's in the mountains, usually when hurricanes hit the mountains, they dissipate, you know, the mountains break up storms, stuff like that. But this was so much rainfall, and we had a bunch of rain before the storm even hit that really escalated things. So the rivers were already full, and, you know, the rivers coming down the mountains, once they were full, they took out anything in its path. The rivers were just rushing. Very scary. I've read a lot of personal stories from people, and they just break my heart every time. And I feel like this is, I wouldn't really classify it as survivor's guilt because I did not witness anything terribly traumatic. But there is a guilt of moving on with life when you know that other people don't get that luxury, especially like local. It's not in our town, but it's right next door, which feels local. Actually, Asheville is where I mentioned last episode that I'm training to run a half marathon, and that's where the race is, in Asheville. But likely that will be canceled because a lot of Asheville is completely ruined. So yeah, I'll be looking for a different race. It's a lot, and it's really heavy, and I hate to start off on that note, but I just had to get that out of the way. And yeah, we covet your prayers, and thank you to everyone that reached out to check on me. That really meant a lot. I didn't realize how many people would really even remember what area I live in. It's just crazy to have people from all around, you know, checking on you. And I couldn't respond. I didn't even get a lot of the messages until many days after because, like I said, there was no communication whatsoever. And in a way, that was kind of nice. We were living in the ignorance of not knowing how bad it was. And also, we were with family, so we had a lot of, you know, quality family time with no interruptions. But, you know, once we regained communication, we saw the devastation. But anyways, on that note, I did get quite a bit of knitting done because I had a lot of time. So I have quite a bit to share. And I will start with what I am wearing. This is my, oh my gosh, I've already forgot the name. The Till Cardigan? Till Cardigan? I've talked about it so many times because I've been working on it for a while. But I'll put the name down here. And I finished this a couple weeks ago. This is knit in Quince & Co. It's a DK weight, I believe. I didn't save the tags. I'm really bad for that. But the color was Stream. And I'll stand up and show you what it looks like. So I will talk about this discrepancy. But anyways, it's slightly cropped, not too cropped. The pattern originally calls for a pretty heavy balloon sleeve, but I just did straight to the elbow and then I did some decreases. It's still a pretty loose sleeve, which I wanted, but it's not a balloon sleeve. And then the star of the show is the back. Beautiful lace work. So I do have a few things about this that I'm not super thrilled with, and one is being that button. It's just not lined up correctly, and that's just my fault. But the problem is if I lower it, it's not going to be the same distance. I think what has happened is I counted by rows, how many rows apart the buttonholes were, so that's where I put the buttons. But then as I got up here, I realized they weren't really lining up, and I think it's because I didn't pick up at the exact same rate in this area as I would have over here. So these may be stretched out a little bit more, or it could be just maybe I blocked it a little awkwardly. But I honestly don't even know that I want that button there, because that's where it kind of starts to split. So I think I may just remove the button. And see here, it almost looks like it lines up. But that button doesn't really work. Like, it makes it look kind of awkward. So I think I may just sew up this buttonhole and get rid of that button. Easy fix. I just have not done it yet. But yeah, that is my teal cardigan. The only other issues that I had, which are not with the pattern, this is my own doing. Well, I don't even know. So my sleeves, you can see my decreases pretty obviously. You see those? They're pretty hard to hide. And I know I SSK knit one on the sides, and you can't see my knit two togethers, but you can see my SSKs. Really, really bad. And I also wonder if it's just the yarn, because I did notice that this yarn is very hard to hide imperfections, and it pills really easy. But I see a lot of people knit with this yarn and they seem to love it, so I don't know if this was just user error, if that's possible. I don't know. I felt bad for not loving it, but before I even finished it, there are pills that I need to take care of. And I've mentioned before, I don't really care about pills that much, as they happen naturally. But as I was knitting it, some of the yarn spots already had pills, and I was like, that's kind of strange. Like, it's not even had that much use. I'm just knitting with it. But it's okay. And then on the back, I had a spot where I had to weave in, yep, can you see right there? I had to weave in the end where I had to change yarn balls back there. And it doesn't matter how I wove that end in, you could see it from the right side. So, I mean, it's not super noticeable, and at the end of the day, it's not a big deal. But I did notice that this yarn was a little unforgiving, almost in the way that like a cotton is kind of unforgiving sometimes when it comes to like weaving in ends and things like that. But overall, I mean, it's very, very comfortable. I love that I kept the sleeves kind of big, so it's just a cozy cardigan, and I'm really happy with how it turned out, and I've worn it many, many times. I have seen people complain about Raglin cardigans in general slipping off of your shoulders, but I'm not having that issue with this one. Maybe that's an issue that comes on later down the road as it stretches out, but for now it's fitting me just fine, and I'm really happy with it. I did knit the size 2, and I used recommended needles. My next finished object is another sweater. This is my MyTime Sweater by Lily Kate France, and she's a beaut. I wanted to wear this today, but it's just too warm, and this is very cozy. So, as I said, this is a pattern by Lily Kate France. I knit the size 2. I used recommended needles, and I knit this with Drops Cotton Merino in the color Pistachio, and then Drops Kid Silk in the color Pistachio Ice Cream. And those two are not a color match, but I love the way that it marled the green, because the mohair was almost kind of an icy blue color. Still had, you know, the pistachio color to it, but it was not this lime green. But I just think that it is beautiful. I love this color. Love the sleeves. The sleeves are just what makes this. Sorry if you just heard my, my stomach. It's so loud. It's very rumbly. The sleeves are just so awesome. I did crop mine just a little bit, but I think that may be in the pattern because she gives you the option to crop it or to, what did I just do? To crop it or to go for a longer length. And I did actually shorten the V-neck a bit because as I was knitting the V, I noticed that it seemed a little bit low. And so I think I skimped on maybe like 1/2 inch or something. And it's still pretty low. I wouldn't wear this without an undershirt. I took pictures for Instagram, which I'll put over here so you can see what it looks like on. And I wore just a regular white t-shirt underneath, which is also helpful because it's a little bit scratchy from that mohair. Not terribly, but it just makes it a little bit more comfortable. And yeah, so if you are gonna knit this, I would say just be wary of how deep the V-neck is gonna be if you don't want it to be too deep. I think my gauge was pretty spot on. It's always a chance that maybe my row gauge was a little bit off. When my gauge is off from something, it typically is by the row. So usually that's pretty fixable. You're just fixing length. But in this case, the V-neck was a little bit too steep for my liking. I was also able to sew the bottom stitch together because when you're finished, you go in and crochet that neckline just to give it some stability. And so when I got to the V, I sewed up one stitch just to lift it up a little bit, but I still need to wear something under it. So yeah, that's my MyTime sweater. She's a beaut. I am so obsessed with this color. The lighting in my house is never great to show off true color, or even when I film, I feel like the lighting is just not great. But in the pictures on Instagram, I think you can see a pretty clear depiction of what this looks like because I took the pictures outside in natural lighting. I'm very, very happy with this. Cannot wait to wear it. I was gonna try to wear it to church yesterday, and then yesterday was so hot. I mean, it's October, you would think it would be cooling down by now, and we have had some cool days, but this is like hopefully our last stretch of warm, and then we have a cold front coming in. So I'm looking forward to being able to wear that because it is just so cozy. And like I said, I love the color. It's not a fall color by any means, but I'll wear color all year round. I'm not afraid of color. The next finished object I have is a pair of socks for my sister-in-law. Some of you know her as a Handmade Heritage on Instagram. These were technically part of her Christmas gift last year, and I'm just that slow. I'm that behind. I'll show you the one that's blocked because it's prettier. So this is the Ruffle Sock by Petite Knit. And I used Cascade Heritage in the color Limestone. It's leftovers from my Alpine Bloom that I knit last year. And then this pink was just a mini that I had in stash. And they're so darling. I can't wait to give them to her. Her birthday was this past weekend, so the timing kind of lined up anyways, even though I'm super late. I think I ended up making the biggest size, the one that correlated with a 64 stitch foot. Your cast on number is not the same because you have the ruffle, but I went with what would give me a 64 stitch sock. And I knit these on a 2.75 millimeter. I usually knit my socks on a 2.25 or 2.5, but she likes a looser sock, so I went with the 2.75, and they knit up a lot quicker than I'm used to, even though it was only a 0.25 millimeter bigger of a needle. For some reason, it seemed to fly by. So yeah, I'm excited to give these to her, and I really want to knit myself a pair because she has a pair of boots that she's going to wear there goes my stomach again, that she's going to wear for the ruffle to kind of stick out, and it's just going to be so cute. So maybe I'll get around to making myself a pair. We'll see, because I have a lot going on. Okay, I think that's all of my finished objects. I will show you now 2 new cast-ons that I have started, And then I have a couple whips, or really only one whip, and then a new cast on that will be coming soon. Okay, so the first new cast on is a pair of socks for myself. I talked about these last episode. It is the Totally Rad Ribbed Socks by Summer Lee. And I am this far. I have started on the ribbing, not even, well, yeah, I guess it is technically ribbing, but you've got a regular cuff, some stripes, and then some rib on the leg. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm using 2.25 for these. And I had showed you guys the yarn last time, and I ended up switching one of them out. So I'm still using this as the main color. Everything just seems so blown out. It could be that my kitchen light is like right over my head, so it's just a little bright, but I can't change the brightness of it, so it is what it is. Okay, this is Skein Queen in the color Saffron Spice, but it also says Crush. Crush may be the base. Saffron Spice is the color. And I originally had another single skein of this like mauve-y, orangey color, and I went to wind it up and I realized that it was much thinner than this fingering weight. It was probably closer to a lace weight, and I didn't want to have that difference in weight, so I had this from last year. This is West Yorkshire Spinners in the color Nutmeg sock yarn, and I just thought that it pairs even better, and it's a true fingering weight. So yeah, that's what I went with. That's the yarn that I knit my fall socks out of last year, so it's kind of just becoming a theme. This is my fall sock yarn. But anyways, these are going to be so cute. I love the stripes that kind of give it like a vintage flair, and the rib. A ribbed sock is always so cozy. So yeah, I'm excited to hopefully finish these before fall is over. But you know me, socks seem to linger for a while. I have what I believe is mohair in my mouth. Okay, got it. The next new cast on is another pair of socks. These are for my brother-in-law, who I also was supposed to knit socks for Christmas. I gave him and my sister-in-law both a little coupon, like a little ticket that said valid for one pair of hand knit socks, and technically neither one of them ever turned it in to me. So you could say I'm ahead. But I saw his on his fridge the other day. Actually, while we were there during the hurricane, we were at their house, and I said, "Oh, I should probably get on that." So I started his, and for his, I am just doing a classic ribbed sock. He is a big guy. He's like, I don't even know how tall, 6 something. Big guy, big feet, and I did not want to take the chance on making a whole sock and it not fitting properly. So I'm working with a 2.75 millimeter for just a little extra space in there, some wiggle room. And then I am doing a ribbed sock because, you know, they're a bit stretchier. So that's what I've got so far. I just did a 2x2 rib, and then I'm doing a 4x1 on the leg and foot. So I did a 72 stitch cast on, and this yarn is, I saved the thing, here it is. This is not in English, so bear with me. This is Super Garn Sport and Strump Wolf 4-ply, I'm gonna assume that means, active. It's from the Czech Republic, so that's interesting. I think this came, I did a swap with someone from Slovenia, I think it was, a while back, And this was in that package, I believe. And does it have a name? Party? Anyways, it was the closest, it was the most like manly yarn that I had. And who doesn't love blue? So that's what I'm doing. And then I still have quite a bit of that Cascade Heritage in the limestone color that I'm going to use as a contrast heel, just to kind of break it up a little bit. And I have quite a bit of this, so I need to just use it for whatever I can. So yeah, just a basic pair of socks. I really like this yarn. The commercial sock yarns are always, maybe I shouldn't say always, but in my experience, they tend to be a little bit rougher and more hard wearing. So that'll be nice. Okay, now moving on to whips. I only have 2 whips that are active. I have a lot of whips that are not active. But we don't have to talk about that. If you're wondering where a whip is, I have not frogged anything. Things have just been put aside. So the first whip is one that you have seen recently, and hopefully it'll be done soon, but it is my woven shawl. And this is using Long Dog yarns in, I always forget. Oh, but you know what? I actually just saw the tag in this bag. Okay, this was called An Echo in the Bone. There we go. It's from her Outlander collection. It's so beautiful. This is probably my most favorite yarn that I've ever had as far as color goes. And you can't really tell from this. Again, the light is just, it's not doing me any favors. But I have got quite a bit done since the last time I've shown you guys. Hang on, I gotta get it situated. Okay, so the last time I showed this, I was here. I only had that little bit, and we have since got that much more. So from back here, you can kind of see the color a bit better. But also it's kind of giving me like camouflage vibes, and that's not true at all. So I don't know how to get the color across to you guys, but it's just beautiful. That you can kind of tell. Has a golden hue, but it's green, beige, brown, very pretty. So I only have about this much yarn left. I would say this is probably, I don't know, 35 grams. And I don't know how much bigger I want to make this because I actually quite like it the way it is. Like that could be long enough for me. Because this is more of like a neckerchief kind of deal for me than, you know, full shawl. So I think each repeat is 4 rows. I think I may do 2 or 3 more repeats, and then there's a little section that closes it off. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. And then I'll have a little bit of this yarn that I can keep for maybe a contrast color in a sock or something, just to make this stretch because I love this color so, so much. I am using the recommended needles. Again, I've got fiber in my mouth. Recommended needles for this pattern, and it's a beautiful pattern. Very easy to memorize. It's the linen stitch, so it does take a while, but the texture is just absolutely gorgeous. It's so worth the effort. And yeah, because this is almost a neutral, I know I'm gonna get a lot of wear out of this because it's colorful in the way that I like, but neutral enough that it will match many, many things. Okay, that should be finished the next time you see it. And if it's not, I'm gonna be angry at myself. The next whip that I have is one that you have not seen in a while, in probably a year. And this is my, what's the name? Sweater number 19 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. This is what it looks like, an all over textured turtleneck. Quite an undertaking. But the squish on this thing is amazing. And oh, it also, this yarn smells so good. So it does kind of look like a funnel right now, but I've looked at project pages and that seems to be how everyone's looks, and it turns out great, so I'm not worried about it. I have tried it on too and it fits perfect. It's just so beautiful. I mean, look at the texture. We'll see if I finish it this year. I started this last year in the middle of winter, I believe. But this time I've got a little bit of a head start because it's already split for sleeves and we're at the beginning of fall. So I'm really determined to finish this, mainly because it's just going to be so cozy and I want to wear it. And I feel like I feel like I can finish the body in about a month, but then the sleeves are going to be what gets me. That's where I always get stuck. But anyways, she's a beaut. I don't remember what size I'm making. I haven't looked at the pattern in a while because I have the repeat memorized. But I am making the, looks like I'm making the smallest size, which is an extra small, which is a 34-36 bust. Okay. Wait a second. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's the finished size. So that should, yeah. And the yarn is Drops Lima, Mix Wool and Alpaca. And the color is just a number on here, 9020. I wish they would put the names, because they have the names on the internet when you order them, but then you get the tag and it's just a number. So, anyways, it's just a cool toned gray. I don't own anything this color. I have started to kind of shy away from gray because it just does not flatter my skin tone at all. But I think this lighter one with the cool tones will be good for my skin, and I have light eyes, so the cool tones tend to bring that out more. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. Love this yarn. Very affordable, but it feels, it doesn't, I won't say it feels rustic because it's very soft, but like it smells like wool, and it's so soft because it has alpaca in it. It's just, I love it so much. And I really don't mind working on this, even though I have to knit the entire thing English style. I'm a continental knitter, so knitting English style is not what's my fastest, but I don't even mind it because the yarn is so nice to work with, and just holding this in my lap, it's so squishy. I mean, you can imagine, you can see the texture. It makes it very thick, and it's just beautiful. I'm really excited about it, and this is my main whip right now that I am working on pretty consistently. So we'll see how I go, because I have my pressed flowers cardigan that I really want to finish ASAP, and also a new sweater that I have yarn for. I've talked about it, the Esther sweater, that I really want to start maybe this week because that's going to be like a white staple in my wardrobe to go with what I'm going to cast on this week, which is a red scarf. And I think I mentioned this last time. It's, oh my gosh, I already forgot. I just looked at it before I started filming to remind myself of the name. It's scarf number something, I'll put it here, by My Favorite Things. And it's just a little neckerchief. It's really cute, dainty. And I have this beautiful red, but it's not a full skein. I mean, it's a skein, but it's like a 50-gram skein. So this is Peary, 100% American Merino wool, Brooklyn tweed, fingering weight. So this is only 210 yards in the color Butte, but I don't know, Butte. Anyways, it's just a really pretty red, and I have really wanted a little red neckerchief kind of thing. I'm curious to see if it'll be long enough to also tie in my hair as a hair scarf, because I think those are really cute. And if you can see, I chopped my hair back off, so I can't really put it up. So I love to wear like headbands and things to kind of change things up. You couldn't even tell in my last video because I had my hair pulled back, but my hair had gotten pretty long. I'd say probably about collarbone, and I layered it a lot, and it was really cute. It had like the 90s look, but it was a lot of work to make it look good. And I've been running a lot, as I talked about, and when I run, I'm going on a tangent here, I'm sorry, but when I run, I sweat so much, so I'm having to wash my hair every day that I run, whereas I used to, go 3 days without washing my hair, 3-4 days, and I just can't afford to spend that much time on hair. It's not worth it. I would rather just have it short and it'd be easy to just go. So yeah, no one asked for that, but there you go. So yeah, I really want to make that little scarf with this, and that shouldn't take too long. I mean, it looks pretty simple, and this is, only 50 grams of yarn. So I really want to have that to wear with the white sweater that I'm planning on making, because that's just a classic look. So yeah, that's all I brought over here to talk about today, because I am starting a little bit later in the day than when I typically film, and we still have more schoolwork to do. I am having a little bit of trouble adjusting to, every year the kids get older, and so they're going up a grade and there's more work for each grade. So my oldest is now in 2nd grade, so we have now incorporated a whole new subject. We have history now that we didn't have before, and so we're kind of having to split the day into 2 halves to finish everything in one day. So we did a lot this morning, and in about an hour we've got to finish the 2nd half before I start dinner. But yeah, that's all I've got to talk about. I wanted to wait a little bit longer until I had all these new cast-ons started so I could show you guys them, but I wanted to update you all on the hurricane situation and let you know that I'm fine. That's all I've got. I hope you all are well, and any of you watching that may have been impacted by the hurricane, my heart goes out to you. I am such an empathetic person. My mom always told me as a kid that I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I never understood what that meant until I became an adult, and she was so right. I feel like I told my husband, because he was like, stop getting on Facebook, stop looking at all the negativity, like you're bringing yourself down. And I was like, well, I have to, because like in my mind I feel like if I feel some of it for them, it'll take away from what they're feeling, which obviously is not how grief and devastation works. But I can't help but mourn when others mourn and grieve what others grieve, even if it did not directly impact me. I think a lot of us are that way, and a lot of people in this area are feeling the same way because it is so close to home, and it could have been us. I mean, we were spared literally by the grace of God, and yeah, I hurt for our neighbors, and I know that in time things will be okay, but also I acknowledge the fact that a lot of their lives will be changed forever. And yeah, I'm not going to go back into the whole thing. I could sit here and talk about it all day and I'd probably cry, and I've done enough crying. So yeah, but like I said, if you've been impacted, my heart goes out to you, and we're praying for everyone. And if this is the first you're hearing of the devastation over here, I would just encourage you, please, to pray, and if you can, to donate. I would say that from what I have seen and from what I have been told by people who have been on the ground in these areas, Samaritan's Purse is probably the best place to donate financial support, just because they seem to be the ones that are the most involved. So yeah, anyways, that's all I've got. Sorry to be all over the place. We're just gonna accept that's how this goes, because there's never been an episode that I'm not all over the place. That's just how I am. And yeah, I hope you all are well, and I hope to chat with you all again in maybe 2 weeks. We'll see. I always put that out there, and it's rare that we make it, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, thanks for watching, and if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and do that if you liked this video. And yeah, I'll leave links for all the patterns and where you can find me in the description box below, and I'll see you next time.